Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, welcome to my newest video. You know, video games back in the day just hit differently. Loading up these games to record footage for this video brought back so many memories, and I think that's what gaming does in general. It's a great thing to make core memories and just have a hobby that you can sit back and enjoy without the stresses of the world breathing down your neck. When I did my list for best Xbox 360 backwards compatible games to play on an Xbox Series X, a lot of you wanted a list for the original Xbox as well. And although there's only 61 original Xbox games playable, there's still some pretty awesome ones that I wanted to cover for everyone. So, with that being said, let's pop in a game and sit back and enjoy that amazing original Xbox boot up screen. Now, I truly love the fact that Xbox Series X has backwards compatibility, even though limited with the original Xbox as well as the Xbox 360. One day I hope Microsoft revisits the idea of backwards compatibility with the original Xbox though, because there's so many games that we can't ever play again unless we hook up our OG Xbox console. And in today's environment, that's just not feasible for everyone. Keep in mind, all the games shown here are running on my Xbox Series X, but not all of them are enhanced, unfortunately. Some of the games obviously had some free enhancements from Microsoft, which makes going back and playing some of them all the better. Now, I've rambled on long enough. Let me take you back to a simpler time when maybe you'd be homesick for the day and miss school and get a chance to play your favorite video game console, or maybe play your brother or sister's video game console, and it was such an amazing experience.
Why don't you play with one of Bart's video games instead? Hugh Down says they're the latest craze.
Foolish dingo, you must find and devour the 7 crystal babies, or spend eternity trapped in deep didgeridoo!
What can I say? I'm a Simpsons fan. What are you gonna do? Now, first up, Star Wars Jedi Academy. This game actually looks pretty darn good considering it's an OG Xbox game. And if you're a Star Wars fan like me, it's probably one of the better titles that you can actually play. I think one of the most fun things about Star Wars games back in the day is that some were considered canon or loosely canon. So this game actually takes place around 10 years after the events of Return of the Jedi, and obviously deals with the new Jedi Order. Now, in the Star Wars universe, getting the chance to pick what you are is an awesome thing as well. So you can choose like what kind of alien you want to be, and they really went all out with the choices available. So you can even pick your force powers as well as your lightsaber color. So for all of us Star Wars nerds, we get to live out our fantasy of actually being part of the universe, and it has one of the better stories in all of Star Wars fandom. So I think this is one that you definitely want to pick up and give a chance to play through if you haven't already done so, because it's really a great looking game, it still handles well, and it's a lot of fun. Now, next up I wanted to cover one of my all-time favorite Xbox games, Jade Empire. Now, you've probably heard of BioWare. They're developers of such great games like Mass Effect, the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, and even Dragon Age. Well, Jade Empire is one of their earlier works, but wow, did they ever get this one right. I think this game looks and plays absolutely fantastic, and it has all the tropes that we've come to really love from BioWare these days. I really think the dev team did an awesome job here, and they even reused the morality system that they introduced in KOTOR. Although they went with the real-time combat system instead of a turn-based one that we saw in KOTOR, and I honestly think it's for the better. Jade Empire has a lot of quests to be found and actually was enhanced to run better on the Series X. The setting is awesome, the whole ambiance behind this game, and it's one of the best stories in all of video games. I remember playing this when I had my Xbox back in the day, and it was just phenomenal. I absolutely love this game. You can pick it up really cheap, even digitally on Xbox right now. It's definitely a game that I 100% recommend to anyone looking to get into some original Xbox games that are going to give them bang for the buck. Now, next up, I wanted to cover a game that I never see get any love anywhere. I don't know if I've ever seen this game on anybody's videos. Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy. Now, at its core, the game is an action-adventure game that has some platforming as well as some puzzle solving. So pretty standard stuff, really, if you're trying to look at it from a perspective of what's going on these days. Now, graphically, as you can see, it still looks pretty good on the Xbox Series X. One of the cooler things about the game is that you get to play as 2 different characters. When you play as Sphinx, you're doing typical things in a platformer. And when you're playing as the mummy, you can do combat. You can't actually do the combat, but instead focus on puzzle solving and stealth aspects. The awesome news is that the mummy can't die since he's already dead to begin with. There's plenty to keep you busy with the game, and there's a ton of variety and fun to be had with it, the game itself. If you've never had a chance to play this game, or you've never even heard of this game, I'd highly suggest it. It's one of those games that you can even pick up digitally on the Xbox Series X, and it's one of the games that I think is kind of one of those hidden gems. I know people don't like that word too much, hidden gem, but that's exactly what this is. So if you get the chance to play it, by all means play it. It's a fun game. Next up is a game from Rare that never gets any love that I've seen, and that's Grabbed by the Ghoulies. Now, this game is always looked at as like a failure from Rare, but to me, it's one of the more fun games that they've ever created. It's kind of basic for sure, kind of a beat 'em up and using the sticks in the way to hit the enemies, but one of the cool things is picking up random items and smacking enemies around. Isn't that always satisfying and fun? You go around smacking the ghoulies and things like that. Now, considering how this is an original Xbox game, a lot of things in the castle are actually destructible, which is pretty cool for the time, kind of showcasing the original Xbox's power, which was something that wasn't really a thing outside of Xbox. Like, Xbox came out and was showcasing a ton of power. Obviously, this is a Rare game, so it's got all that charm and humor that we've come to know and love from them, but it's also a game that's in Rare Replay on Xbox, and I believe they even added some achievements to it if you play it that way. So if you know the story of Rare and you know the story of this game, you'd know that it was originally intended to be a GameCube game, but Microsoft bought Rare and it actually became the first game they released under the Xbox umbrella. So there you go, a little bit of gaming history with this video as well. Now, I tried to avoid using the same games I had in my original Xbox video, so I went with Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2 for this video instead of the first game. But honestly, both games are so fantastic, and it comes down to preference. In fact, I'll do side by side because I really recommend both of these games if you're looking for the best Star Wars games of all time, and both play fantastically on the Xbox Series X. The turn-based combat can take a little while to get used to if you're not familiar with it, but it works extremely well here. The first game has an absolutely epic storyline with one of the biggest twists in all of gaming, even to this day. While the second game has a lot of twists and turns itself, Obsidian did the game instead of BioWare, and it was a little rushed, so we didn't get the ending that we were supposed to get, but it was still an incredible ride and some of the best storytelling in the Star Wars universe. And the reason why I say that is, listen, I'm not a huge fan of Star Wars in the Disneyverse, but, you know, some of that is okay. So some of these games are a great way to experience a fantastic Star Wars story with it being a little bit older even. So next up is a game that people either love or never heard of, and that game is Black. A really cool first-person shooter from Criterion Games, who used to actually do some Need for Speed games as well. And they really did a fantastic job on this. This is more of a hidden gem, there's that word again, because it was released back in 2006, which was actually after the Xbox 360 was already released. So many people just skipped the game and forgot all about it, or they didn't even know it existed. But the game looks pretty good, and it's a mission-based first-person shooter, and it plays a lot differently than, say, a Call of Duty game. For one thing, it's got kind of weighted controls, so when you're moving around with the gun and things, it's a little bit more heft to it. It might take you a bit to get used to it, the style of gameplay, but it's funny because I intended to capture about, 10-15 minutes of footage, but I actually couldn't put the game down. I just kept playing. Now, unfortunately, the game is rather short, but it's quite a nice ride to get there. I highly recommend the game if you get a chance to play it, and this is actually one, if you're a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber on Xbox, it's in EA Play, which is part of that, so you can just download it and play it. It's an awesome deal. Next up, I wanted to do a game that I think everybody knows about. It's a pretty cool game called Panzer Dragoon Orta. I mean, who wouldn't want to play a game where you ride a dragon and blow things up, right? Crazy. Now, if you don't know what Panzer Dragoon is, it's a rail shooter where you ride an awesome dragon and you have to fight your way through multiple levels, taking out everything in sight. And at the end of each level is an awesome boss fight that takes quite a bit of strategy along the way. Now, Panzer Dragoon Order was developed by Sega and was originally going to be a Sega Dreamcast game, but the Dreamcast lacked the technical specifications and horsepower to actually play the game, so when the Dreamcast kind of went under, Microsoft ended up getting quite a few exclusives from Sega that were intended as Dreamcast games. Now, this game on Xbox Series X looks a million times better than the game that looks like kind of crappy actually on the Xbox 360 through the backwards compatibility there. So if you didn't know, the Xbox 360 does have some limited backwards compatibility with original Xbox games, actually a lot more than the Series X has with the original Xbox, but they don't look good. They're not really enhanced and things like that. So one of the best things about Xbox is these older games get new life because they look and play so much better, and that's certainly the case here. Now, I have a hard time picking the next game because there's a good amount to choose from. So I went with Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. All in all, there's 4 Splinter Cell games on the original Xbox, and they're all backwards compatible on the Xbox Series X. These games hold up incredibly well, all things considered. Splinter Cell has certainly been a multi-platform release throughout the years, but many people, myself included, consider the Xbox version to be the definitive versions because they looked and played so much better. And I also think Xbox Live certainly played a huge role in people's perceptions of the series. Many people remember playing the multiplayer online and having an absolute blast, but Xbox Live was at its peak when this was happening. If you're unfamiliar with Splinter Cell, however, it's really a stealth action game that requires some quick reflexes and thinking, and used to have some actual fantastic multiplayer back in the day. So, next up, as we speed things along here, is a game that people probably didn't realize was an Xbox console exclusive, The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. Seeing as how the next Elder Scrolls game, Elder Scrolls 6, will be an Xbox console exclusive, I thought it'd be cool to talk about this one because at the time, it was console exclusive to the OG Xbox. The game looks pretty outdated by comparison by today's standards, but it's still a very fun game with a complex and impressive story to play through. Personally, I don't think this game is better than Elder Scrolls 4 or 5, but then again, not much is better than Skyrim, if you were to ask me anyway. There's some cool stuff to see here, and the game actually does still play great after all these years, but one great thing about this game is that if you play it off Game Pass, it comes with both huge expansions that the original game had. I'm pretty sure you get the expansions regardless, but it was nice to see them included here. There's dozens and dozens of hours worth of content to be found here, and it's just fun to kind of go through. If you like a game that maybe doesn't look fantastic, but plays great and has a fantastic story, then I think this is one of the ones that you should definitely pick up. Now, I always try to fit 10 or so games into these videos, and it's kind of hard to decide on what to do next. So when I did this, I felt like this game definitely belonged in here, and that is Star Wars Republic Commando. Yes, I know I put a few Star Wars games in here, and as I've said before, I'm a big Star Wars fan, so it shouldn't come as too much of a shock. It absolutely needed to be on the list. I know I put like several games on here that maybe other people would look at as being top games, but these games are incredible to me personally, and this is a opinion-based video anyway. I know it's redundant to say, but I'm a big Star Wars nerd. So I look at this game almost as Halo in the Star Wars universe. You control one character and you have a squad with you, and you make your squad execute various things. Each of them has a speciality. The team really nailed a lot of the little details that are in the Star Wars universe, and it's one of the reasons I can go back and play the game again and again. The fact that it plays like one of the OG Halo games doesn't hurt either. So it's definitely one of the games I highly recommend if you have an Xbox Series X and are looking for some awesome original Xbox games to play, because like I said, it is really fantastic, and it was a lot of fun to go back through here and play through multiple levels, try to capture the footage for everyone. I just had a really fun time with that. So really wanted to put these games out there. There's obviously more to come. I'm always interested in hearing your all thoughts and opinions on what you would like to see. This was actually a video that was something that was requested. Thank you all for joining me on the video today. I had an absolute blast putting this together, playing the games, capturing the footage. It's been amazing. If you guys do watch the video, please like the video and consider subscribing, as it helps out the channel tremendously. I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers. I can't believe that. It's crazy to think that this video, I did a video a few months ago that started off this thing, and it's kind of taken off. So it's really blowing my mind. Thank you all very much. I hope you all have a great day, week, month, year. It's going to be a fantastic one. Get some gaming in. Thanks for watching. Game on, my friends. Game on.